Hi everyone, my name is Giulia Guerreschi and I'm a Regulatory Affairs Specialist here at Pure Global. I'm an expert mainly focusing on EU, UK and Swiss market access. Hence, today we will focus on Europe and more specifically navigating and understanding EUDAMED, which is the European Medical Device Database introduced by the European Commission. Here is our agenda for today. The presentation is structured into 6 main sections. Firstly, we will talk about what is EUDAMED, including its background and relevance. Then we will focus on the regulatory context of EUDAMED, including compliance and the parties involved. Thirdly, we will focus on the structure of EUDAMED, which means looking into the different EUDAMED modules and their functionalities. Then we will proceed in understanding how to navigate EUDAMED, including how to access it and what you, as a manufacturer, are responsible for within the database. Later, we will dig deeper on the current rollout status of EUDAMED and what the future will look like for all parties involved. Lastly, we will round up the presentation by focusing on the main key takeaways, including how Pure Global can support you. So, what is EUDAMED? EUDAMED is the IT system established by the European Commission under the Medical Device and In Vitro Diagnostic Regulations. So in other words, MDR and IVDR. It's a single environment for member states' competent authorities, notified bodies, economic operators, and the public to access up-to-date information on all medical devices placed on the EU market. Essentially, is the central backbone of Europe's medical device regulatory system, as everyone will be able to access up-to-date data on the devices being placed on the EU market. EUDAMED's main goal is to enhance transparency, coordination, and traceability across Europe. It centralizes data in one information hub and move away from the national databases, which have scattered data all over the place. Healthcare professionals, patients, and the public will also have access to the key data in EUDAMED, as transparency, when it comes onto EUDAMED, is key. Importantly, it also streamlines communication between all involved parties, regulators, notified bodies, authorized representatives, and many more. So, what is the regulatory context behind EUDAMED? Compliance with EUDAMED will soon become mandatory for all. Manufacturers must integrate its use into their quality management system, registering devices, uploading changes or renewals, and ensuring accurate updates. EUDAMED will become the source of truth for all EU market access. This is why it is important that manufacturers proactively register their devices in EUDAMED, keep the information up to date, and avoid non-compliance, potential fines, and/or recalls from competent authorities and regulatory bodies. So, here we see all the parties involved with EUDAMED. There are competent authorities, notified bodies, economic operators such as manufacturers, importers, and authorized representatives. Every party plays a role in feeding accurate data into the system to maintain a transparent and up-to-date landscape. Now, let's see how EUDAMED is structured. EUDAMED is made up to 6 main modules. Firstly, actor registration, UDI device registration, notified bodies and certificates, clinical investigations and performance studies, vigilance and post-market surveillance, and last but not least, market surveillance. Each module serves a specific purpose for traceability, safety, and market oversight. So let's dig deeper into them and understand what is their individual purpose. Starting with the actor registration module. The actor registration module is fully functional. Every economic operator must register here to receive a unique single registration number, the SRN, before registering any devices. Think of it as your entry point into the EUDAMED system. Having an SRN is a requirement as per MDR and IVDR. This number will be identified in various documents, including the Declaration of Conformity. The UDI device registration module is fully functional at this moment in time and will soon become mandatory for all manufacturers. This module is designed to ensure that every medical device can be uniquely identified, tracked, and monitored throughout its life cycle within the EU market. Please note that the UDI with this module and the introduction of MDR and IVDR becomes the key component in the device registration. With this module and the UDI requirements, one enables tracking and traceability throughout the device's life cycle, supporting safety and post-market surveillance. Manufacturers must implement the UDI-DI system, registering both the basic UDI-DI and the product UDI-DI. This is not just a EUDAMED requirement. This is also a requirement under the MDR and IVDR. Please note that EUDAMED validates these UDI-DIs against the UDI issuing entities like GS1 to ensure authenticity. Therefore, be careful and please make sure to input correct data related to your device. In this fully functional module, notified bodies upload and manage certificates under the MDR and IVDR. It's their responsibility to make sure all certificates are uploaded and properly linked to the registered devices in the system. Therefore, as a manufacturer, you will not have control over this module. Now, notified bodies are getting pressure to start using EUDAMED when releasing new certificates, as this module and the device registration module are strongly interlinked. Therefore, if you have a higher classification device, let's say a Class 3 under MDR, and you registered your device under the UDI module, but your notified body has not uploaded your certificate yet, the device registration will not show up until the certificate is also uploaded and linked accordingly. The Clinical Investigation and Performance Studies module is still under development. It will allow sponsors to register clinical trials and performance studies conducted in the EU. Its aim is to improve transparency and track the statuses and outcome of these investigations. Therefore, this module will centralize all data and interactions for clinical investigations and performance studies, enhancing safety monitoring and ensuring transparent public access to credible, up-to-date clinical evidence across the EU. The market surveillance and vigilance modules are still under development. These modules will enable economic operators to report any serious incidents, FSCAs, and allow competent authorities to evaluate all the reported incidents. The purpose of these modules is to facilitate the detection of trends, safety signals, and issues that are related to products being placed on the EU market. It will also allow member states to coordinate better in relation to these reports and make sure that the public is aware of any safety information. So, to summarize, the market surveillance and vigilance modules in EUDAMED will centralize and streamline the reporting, assessment, and the oversight of safety incidents and corrective actions, ensuring a safer device landscape across the EU. After understanding the EUDAMED structure and the different modules, now let's focus on how to navigate EUDAMED. EUDAMED has two access levels, public and restricted. Public access allows everyone to view the public information in the system, while restricted access is only for authorized users like the economic operators we mentioned previously and regulators to use when editing, adding, checking, and uploading information. Interestingly enough, recently more distributors have started to use the public version of EUDAMED as a catalog on what they want to select from the manufacturer. This shows that even though EUDAMED is not fully functional yet, the distributors are pushing for manufacturers to use as much as possible the system and already implement proper data sharing, compliance, and patient safety. So, how does the registration work? To register a device, you need an active EUDAMED account and an actor profile. Therefore, manufacturers must register as an actor first to obtain their applicable SRN. This means that you will need to create an initial EU login account, register your company, and then you will receive the SRN. Once that is done, In practice, a company can have multiple employees linked to one manufacturer actor account. This means that more staff can have oversight on EUDAMED, and it's not just all in one person at the company. So let's look at the manufacturer's responsibility. It's the manufacturer's responsibility to register its devices, upload all required information, and ensure all data stays up to date in EUDAMED. Outsourcing this task is not allowed. It must be managed internally to ensure quality and traceability. Of course, you can have support from consultancy firms in guidance, right, and helping you set this up. But the final registration remains in the hands and the responsibility of the manufacturer. This also means that the manufacturer must have in place a very well-kept system and instructions for updating EUDAMED. It is important to remember that EUDAMED is a system that tracks all changes. Therefore, even if you update it to the correct version, the old incorrect version, for example, will remain in the system and can be checked in the historic. Due to this, we strongly advise clients to be aware of the data they input in EUDAMED, check that it is correct, and maintain such data up to date. In the end, remember, EUDAMED will become the source of truth going forward. Now that we understood a bit of the background of EUDAMED and how it functions, let's focus on the current status of EUDAMED and the future outlook of EUDAMED. Here is the current EUDAMED rollout timeline from the European Commission released on December 2024. From what we see here and already know, EUDAMED is not yet fully functional. Some modules are still under development. Most of them are scheduled to become mandatory and/or have transitional periods coming to an end by the end of 2026. National databases will phase out. The clock is in fact ticking, so companies need to prepare now to register in EUDAMED. It is important to note that these timelines can change in the meantime, of course. However, one thing is for sure. The European Commission is pushing for device registration to become mandatory sooner rather than later. So, as just mentioned, by 2026, many modules will become mandatory. EUDAMED is set to be the single source of truth for device registration in Europe, which means that we will no longer rely on all these national databases. Therefore, the message is clear. Act fast. The longer you wait, the higher the risk of non-compliance and lost market access. To conclude, let's summarize the key takeaways from this presentation on navigating EUDAMED. EUDAMED is the future for the EU medical device industry. Every manufacturer is responsible for its own data and compliance. Manufacturers are now responsible for the device registration, unlike in the past, where maybe the EUAR used to do it for you in the national databases or other economic operators. Thanks to EUDAMED, cooperation across all stakeholders and parties will improve traceability, transparency, and safety. In addition, it will point out manufacturers that are not in compliance with the EU regulations and harmonizes the placement of devices and registration of devices on the EU market. It's a complex system that requires proactivity and commitment from manufacturers. Therefore, we strongly advise you to get started to avoid any business risks in the long run. Finally, don't wait until the last minute. Pure Global can support you in every step of the way. Our team of regulatory specialists will help you navigate the EUDAMED system efficiently and ensure all your devices comply with its requirements. Thank you.